Hey everyone, welcome to this Premium Explainer. Today, we're taking a real deep dive into PM Molly, and we're specifically focusing on the project initiation module. Think of this as your step-by-step tutorial on how to build a totally bulletproof professional foundation before you ever even think about moving into the planning phase. So if you're looking to absolutely master project initiation, you are definitely in the right place.
Here's exactly what we're covering today. Project selection, the project charter, stakeholder analysis, and requirements management. This is the exact enterprise path you'll take inside PM Molly, so let's just jump right in, shall we?
All right, starting off with Section 2.1, Project Selection. This is where we define the project context and authorize its creation. Now, there's a really great insight from PMI's PMBOK that says the context captured here becomes the foundation for every planning artifact. And honestly, they hit the nail on the head. This section is important because it captures all that essential real-world context, like your specific industry, your physical location, and the regulatory environment you're dealing with. Getting this right is what prevents those generic cookie-cutter outputs and meticulously calibrates PM Molly's AI intelligence specifically for your project.
First, review the project setup dashboard here. Notice how PM Molly is basically doing the heavy lifting for you by using weighted scoring and strategic alignment metrics. This is huge because it helps you objectively compare and evaluate if a project is actually viable. You can clearly see criteria broken down into financial viability, technical feasibility, and resource availability. It's really all about ensuring the project makes actual business sense before you commit your time and money.
Next, enter your project details sequentially. It's super straightforward. You'll create a new project, pick your industry vertical, and define your target location and regulations. From there, just set your finish date and a high-level budget range. But here's the absolute most critical part: completing those industry-specific parameters. Like, if you're in construction, specify the building type. PM Molly uses this information to calibrate literally all of the downstream AI generation, which is what guarantees your plans are actually relevant.
Before moving to the next step, make sure you aren't falling into some common traps. Please, whatever you do, avoid vague descriptions like new system. Specificity drives quality. Also, never skip that location field. You might be tempted to, but it drastically impacts how the AI factors in regulations and market rates. So, the pro tip here, use specific industry terminology and fill out absolutely every parameter field so the AI can build a highly accurate work breakdown structure and risk profile for you later. Okay, let's move on to Section 2.2, the project charter, where we authorize and define project authority.
So what does a project charter actually do in practice? Well, it formally authorizes the project, sets up measurable success criteria, establishes your boundaries, and officially gives the project manager the authority to use organizational resources. This section is important because without a charter, your project basically lacks formal authorization, making it incredibly vulnerable to scope creep right from day one. And we've all been there, right? Taking a look at the charter module, it's pretty amazing. You just click PM Molly Generate, and the AI instantly creates a complete draft based entirely on that project context we just talked about. The editable fields are beautifully structured for you: background, objectives, scope overview, deliverables, assumptions, constraints, risks, and even high-level estimates. Plus, it automatically uses industry-appropriate language based on your parameters. Then, confirm and edit this draft. The workflow is seamless. You generate the AI draft, carefully review and edit each section, and refine those success criteria until they're crystal clear. After that, you'll configure your governance, which means establishing the PM, the sponsor, and the escalation path. And finally, you'll use the built-in digital signature workflow to get that formal approval locked in. PM Molly uses this information to officially establish your right to exist as a project. But a quick word of warning: do not just blindly accept the AI draft without reviewing it. AI is brilliant, but you are the PM and you're the one on the hook if things go sideways. Don't leave your success criteria vague, and whatever you do, don't skip the governance and escalation path, or you'll be facing major decision paralysis later. Instead, actively use version history to track changes and strictly link your objectives to measurable KPIs. Moving right along to Section 2.3, Stakeholder Analysis, where we map out influence, interest, and our engagement strategy.
This quote really says it all. The power/interest matrix is the gold standard for prioritizing your engagement efforts. Why? Because mismanaged stakeholders are literally a leading cause of project failure. This section is important because a systematic stakeholder analysis prevents those nasty political surprises down the road and ensures you actually have vital buy-in from your key decision makers.
First, review the stakeholder analysis screen. Notice how PM Molly automatically visualizes everyone into 4 quadrants on this communication matrix. You've got Manage Closely, Keep Satisfied, Keep Informed, and Monitor. The system even goes a step further and suggests recommended engagement frequencies, like weekly face-to-face meetings or just monthly check-ins, based directly on the type of project you're running. It's incredibly intuitive.
Next, enter your stakeholder data. You can do this manually or use the guided wizard. You'll classify each person's type, role, and organization. Then rate their power, interest, and influence on a simple 1 to 5 scale. Once you define their communication needs, PM Molly automatically generates that powerful visual matrix for you.
When you look at the matrix, the difference in strategies is pretty stark. On one hand, you have Manage Closely for your high-power, high-interest folks. These are the people who need active, frequent, face-to-face management. On the total opposite end, you have Monitor for low-power, low-interest individuals, meaning they just need minimal effort and general updates.
Before moving to the next step, make sure you really think outside the box. A huge mistake is only identifying the obvious stakeholders. It's the hidden influencers, like external regulators or community groups, that will cause the most damage if you ignore them. And remember, power and interest shift over time, so don't just set these ratings once and forget about them. Prioritize your effort with the matrix, document exact communication preferences, and keep updating this as your project evolves.
Finally, we arrive at Section 2.4, Requirements Management. This is where we capture, prioritize, and trace all those project needs.
Now let's talk about requirements traceability. This is an absolute best practice in project management that ensures every single need maps directly to a deliverable. This section is important because having crystal clear, prioritized requirements is the only way to prevent gold plating. It ensures you're delivering exactly what the stakeholders actually need, which secures a smooth and successful scope validation at the end. First, review the requirements management screen. What's really cool here is that PM Molly actually suggests categorized requirements based directly on the charter objectives you already defined. You can see the list details everything by type: functional, non-functional, constraints. It also shows you priority badges, the current status, draft acceptance criteria, and precisely which stakeholder that requirement originated from.
Then, confirm those priorities using the Moscow method. You'll tag each item as a must-have, should-have, could-have, or won't-have. You'll also want to categorize them as functional or non-functional, add really rigorous measurable acceptance criteria for each one, and explicitly link them back to stakeholder sources so you have full 100% traceability.
PM Molly uses this information to feed directly into your scope deliverables and WBS. Just a quick heads up, avoid the temptation to write your requirements as solutions. You want to describe what is needed, not how to build it. And please don't make everything a must-have. True prioritization requires trade-offs. As a pro tip, focus heavily on those non-functional risks, like security or performance, and make sure every requirement is SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
And just like that, PM Molly project initiation is complete. By working your way through project selection, the charter, stakeholder analysis, and requirements management, you've built an incredibly professional, data-driven, and AI-calibrated foundation. You are officially ready to crush the planning phase.
So, I want to leave you with this one provocative question. Is your project's foundation truly strong enough to survive the planning phase? Well, with PM Molly's initiation module completely mastered, you are absolutely armed and ready to execute with confidence. Are you ready to start your next flawless project lifecycle? Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and we will see you on the next deep dive.